Welcome, my name is Sam Price, and every single week we do a top-down weekly macro analysis for Bitcoin, the DXY, Bitcoin dominance, tether dominance, S&P futures, NASDAQ, total 3, and another mystery coin that I'm going to give you at the end. Stay tuned for that. So if you want to know what's going on the macro, this is the place to be. Now, if you remember, we talked about this area here when we got to here. Could we get a bounce? We did. But then we knew this was a resistance. We had to break this, use it for a retest for a beautiful long. We did not. We came down to the bottom of the pattern, and today we got a nasty rejection. And almost out of nowhere, it felt like Friday at like 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, we got this insane dump for Bitcoin. The low of the dump went all the way down to about 68,420. If you can believe it, we've already bounced back almost $1,000 for Bitcoin since then. So we're going to delete everything here. We're going to start from scratch again, and we're going to go and look at that weekly. 2 days, this weekly candle will close. Just 3 hours ago, this was the highest weekly candle ever, just like these last three. We keep hitting the all-time high of the weekly, of the closing of the candles, and we just can't seem to hold that level. This was about to be the biggest weekly candle close in the history of Bitcoin, just like this one was 2 weeks ago. But no, so far it came back down. We do have 2 days for this, to see what happens, but so far rejection and some wicks here. All right. One thing I do see that's interesting, and I have to talk about, is on the 5-day chart, there's a little bit of bearish div forming here. See that swing down and swing down? I guess they both kind of swing down. That's a little sharper. Just, I'm not saying it's, oh my God, cause for alarm huge, but just something to, it's like, hey, I didn't realize, that is a sharp swing down, and that's kind of a flat, but still not the worst thing in the world. But we did get a rejection. That 3-day candle could close bearish now in 3 hours and 42 minutes. This 3-day candle is going to close. So that could be a bearish close on the 3-day. And you can see this is like 1, 2, 3, 4 now. We just can't seem to get back above this key level. And then I draw this pattern, and it brings us back to the daily just to kind of see where we're at. So we're watching the daily mainly. And you can see the stochastics went from low to high. We had a pretty nice run, right? But it wasn't amazing. For the daily, it was just like 5 or 6 days of a little bit, and we just come right back down. At the end of the day, this is like a symmetrical triangle. If you bring it up here, it's a symmetrical. If you use these twos, it's an ascending. These two touches, sorry, these twos. But if you use these two touches here, it's an ascending triangle. And, and by the book, there are 50-50 patterns that could break out either way. So when you look at this, you're looking at levels for Bitcoin to come down to. Now, you defended this so well. Previous resistance became support. You bounced. And then we had a little bit of resistance there. Today, we wanted to see if that candle could close above it. And we ended up getting the move to the downside. The daily suggests more pain is coming, and it could come the daily suggests we could come at least down to 60,800. So 60,800 is not out of the cards. And even all the way back down to 56,000, if we come touch this 200 SMA, is not out the cards yet. So everyone's always massively bullish. I'm always over, both bullish and bearish, because you just never know what price action is going to do. We desperately need to see a bounce here off this bottom trend line. Very, very important. 1 hour's oversold, 4 hours oversold, but at the same time, look at the 1 hour is now losing the 200 SMA here on the 1 hour time frame. So now that we're below the 200 SMA in the 1 hour, we need to get back above that to remain bullish. You basically need to see a bounce. So what will happen is you'll probably do like this. You'll make some type of bear flag, and that will tell you that the daily is likely going to kind of dump. You'll come here, you'll do a bearish retest, and then you'll take a nasty dump to the downside. So you really need to see the 1 hour get back above the 200 SMA. And we ended up making it was a shoulder ahead and a right shoulder. And we did end up breaching this. And again, like I said, once with a 7 minute, I said, watch the 7 minute. Once the 7 lost the 200 SMA, sayonara, senorita. It's such an amazing signal. And you can see that's why on the live stream, when we lost that, I took the big trade off, and I only ended up, tiny loss. So, the point is, you don't have to long and short every 5 seconds, but like if I'm a biasly long trader, I can at least skip out of my longs and not take beatdowns. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to lose. Like, if you can clearly see that was going to be a dump, we lost the point of control. There was a gap in the VRVP. We went right to where the gap told us we were going to go. Look at that. It's just perfect. The 1 hour was oversold in the stochastics, and we dumped down. Really, if we just traded the 1 hour, I was kind of going against the grain in there a little bit, going a little high risk just to see if, you never knew. But if you really just took it by the book, it was high stochastic, And sometimes I won't trade it perfectly. Sometimes my system will tell you to short, and I might try to go for the risky move. You have to remember that. Like, don't always do what I do. Listen to my system the most. Because even I sometimes, I push it a little bit, right? But there, definitely a shoulder, head and shoulder, multiple rejections, and then we lost the 200 SMA and the 7. We fell to the downside for Bitcoin, all right? On the macro, we're watching to see if the daily can hold this trend line. It looks unlikely to me based off how high the stochastics is, but anything is possible. I've seen double tops, double moves. Could we make a move back to the upside? You want to see if this trend line holds. If not, we're definitely coming right back down to 67. And if that falls, we could see 60,000, 60,500 again. So we want to see if we can get a bounce here tonight into tomorrow and see if we can shave into the side of this channel, see if the daily can kind of bend back up pretty quickly. But right now, it does suggest that the daily has some type of look. It's almost like an M pattern there. There's 1, there's 2, and then we could dump further down. So, but as long as we stay above 67,000, I'm bullish. So if we can stay above 67K, if we break 67K, it's looking like we're going to come test 62.8, 63, and then possibly 60,500. The DXY had a major pump today. It got blasted to the upside. The 3-day chart had a huge move. The daily chart had a huge move. We bounced off the 200 SMA if you look at it on the 3-day. I wanted to see us lose that and dump. We did not. We actually got a bit of a bounce. That's bullish for the DXY and, risk-off assets. So it's, it tells you, hey, man, people might want to jump back in, to bonds for a bit. People might, be interested in dollar-backed assets just for like this, even for a short time. But it definitely scared people. The equity market got a little bit of a shakeout, and so did Bitcoin, right? But yeah, so I don't want to see the DXY get back above 105, and it looks like it is. I mean, that's bullish to me. The 3-day chart looks pretty bullish, and the daily chart looks bullish. I mean, they're both curving to the upside, suggesting a move. So we might get a pretty nasty pullback here for Bitcoin. It might not be all bullish. The whole market just refuses to look at technical analysis, and they all run on emotion and just how they feel. Like it's like they get so high off memes, they just say whatever they want. I get a little annoyed in a way because I love the market. I love everybody, but it really wrecks a lot of beginning traders. And when people just get like all they do is say whatever they want, they don't go by like what the charts say. And when you have tons of people saying that, you have all these new people that go into crypto Twitter and they end up buying things and getting into things at really a really bad time in the market. But anyway, I guess that's, works in our favor in the long run. But so this is a bullish engulfing candle in the daily. It looks like it's going to close as such and close above the 200 SMA. I see the daily continuing. I don't see how the DXY doesn't at least pump back up to about 106. From there, we'll see what happens, but it looks like we're going to get a little bit of a pump for the daily on the DXY for a couple days. Then we have the total market gap in all of cryptocurrency, and it was nice that we broke back above this key level. Beautiful. And then what I'm looking at was the same thing in crypto, like we're kind of looking at this bigger channel. So it does suggest that maybe the whole market could consolidate down a little bit and get a little bit of a pullback. So people took some sell-off, people take some profits for whatever reason, and maybe we get 5 or 6, 3-day candles, which would be 15 to 16 days, right? And we consolidate here for about a half a month before our next major shoulder, head, right shoulder, and a big pump to the upside. Today was crazy. Had we broken above that today, we really would have gone to the all-time high. It kind of was like either all-time high or some type of pullback. But that's what I see, the 3-day on the total market cap. The daily also looks like it has to come back down to the bottom of the channel. So we're looking for the daily to maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 8 or 9 days pullback. It looks like we're going to get like about a 1-week pullback, just kind of a slow bleed in the market. So don't be surprised if we see sideways or downward price action for a little while. But as long as we hold this trend line, I see how the total crypto market can still get all the way back up to $3.74 trillion, and we can get a big move here. Total 3 is the entire market cap of all the altcoins, and we're getting tighter in the zone. It's looking pretty good. However, the same idea here now. The daily's a little overbought. The daily, it's like everything, man. We were about to get a move, stay above the dotted line, and really pump. Instead, the daily got rejected. Everything got rejected. Bitcoin got crushed, and then we got this move to the downside and everything. All altcoins, Bitcoin, you name it. And then the dollar got a little bit of a bounce, too. We could put these all together and just say we're tighter in the zone. I mean, it looks unlikely based off my years of using the stochastics that we're going to get a bounce here. The daily's very high, but the daily could come here and just bend back up, and then we could get a huge pump. As long as we hold the trend line, then I have to assume that we're going to pump. So I like what we're seeing. Can we get tight and then get a move on out of here? A breakout and a retest of 700 billion would be a great place to begin to like reset or maybe go harder into some altcoins. If we lose this level, look for a drop to the 200, and then we could even get a drop all the way down. Maybe this is a huge market reset. I'm open-minded that anything is possible. I don't want to be overly bullish or overly bearish. I just want to look at this one step at a time. Bitcoin dominance. When that dumps and Bitcoin US tether dominance pumps, it's usually not the best sign. So let's see what happened here. We wanted to get back inside this pattern. We talked about how this had fallen out, and it was going to do what's called a bearish retest or break back inside. Looked like for a second today it was back inside. Things were looking bullish, but now it looks like it may make a bearish retest. So right now it looks like Bitcoin dominance may actually still take a hit, may never get back inside the pattern, and may come down, even on the temporary time frame. 4-hour did break back above the 200 SMA. That's bullish. We want to see this get back inside this trend line, though, and hang out inside the rising wedge. I want to look at tether dominance on the 3-day chart. That got oversold and starting to stay flat as if like people were done selling off their tether, which is kind of weird, but I guess we don't control the market. There's someone else behind it. When you think of your everyday person, everyone around you, and you see what the market does, it never really seems to make sense, But if we looked at this, we could call this a bit of a falling wedge that could break out 68% of the time. Some say it already is breaking out a little bit with its first higher low after a long dump. Tether dominance may be making a move. If we get back above this, if you get above this line, tether dominance may come back to this 200 SMA. We don't want to see tether dominance break the 200 SMA or break 5.2%. That's not going to be a good sign. So we'll keep a track on this. You want to see this get rejected and continue down to the bottom of this trend line. We do not want to see tether dominance start to gain traction and break above that resistance. S&P futures to me is still intact so far, but we did get a red day just like everything else. We're going to have to see some type of crazy move on the daily. For tether dominance, Bitcoin, it's going to have like a small pullback on the Stokes and just flip. You can see the cup and handle still in play. We're still getting tighter inside the front nose of the channel, and that's good. I mean, that's a bullish sign, but it does suggest we come down maybe for a couple days, maybe 5 and 6, 7 days, back down to the bottom of the pattern at 5,300. I'm still overall bullish on the S&P, and it actually looks better than Bitcoin where it's at on the stochastics and the daily. But it did get a curve. It did hit resistance just like Bitcoin did. Does it come down for a couple more days and then pump? If it loses this trend line, then we know it's going to dump, likely back down to 4,900. But if it stays in here, we're looking for that continuation up for the S&P. Same situation here for the NASDAQ. If you look at it, to me, it's starting to make what's like a very, rising wedge pattern that could break down, right? But if it breaks out parabolically. And if they continue to print money, this thing is just going to continue to launch. Just a little bit more right there, somewhere about 23,600 it could move to. At the same time, right, it could dump. The 3-day chart is getting a little overbought. And the daily here, I wouldn't be surprised if we did something like this. Like, we broke out of that point of control. And we make for maybe 5 or, maybe even a week or two, we go sideways inside the zone before we finally break out. But as long as the NASDAQ stays above that high volume node at 18,000, and I don't see how it goes lower than, I don't see how it just comes and breaks 17.5. So I just see more consolidation and a more bullish move for the NASDAQ. But you never know. You never know. We take a look at Sol BTC, and I'm always watching Sol Bitcoin. And, I like to look at it on the bigger time frame, like the daily. And you can see it just kept consolidating tighter and tighter, but the market structure wasn't amazing, right? And if Bitcoin dumps and Sol dumps, Sol will dump even more. So Sol, it's the opposite, right? So Sol BTC will go down even more. So right now, Sol BTC is struggling, and if it loses this 200 SMA, it's going to drop even more. And if Bitcoin drops, it's going to take Sol BTC down with it. If you can stay up there and get tighter in the zone, then we know. So we can watch this closely, and let's say 5-6 days from now, you somehow never lose that 200 SMA and you're still tight, then there's more of a chance you're breaking out. But if in a day or two you start to close a candle below this, then you're probably likely coming down. So by just watching this chart and knowing what to expect, it can give you a pretty good insight as what's going to happen. All right. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. You can find out when I post my next video. I put out this weekly technical analysis every single week. It's a macro video giving you Bitcoin, DXY, total 3, Bitcoin dominance, tether dominance, S&P futures, NASDAQ futures, and a mystery chart today with Sol BTC. Everyone, I love you. I appreciate you. Please comment, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you on my next video. Remember, crypto is life.